History is full of surprises. Some facts are so unexpected, they make you see the past in a completely different light.
Yes, send the legions. The Nile is overflowing again, and someone left a chariot in a no parking zone.
These wooden teeth are quite uncomfortable, but a president must smile.
Video will explore 20 amazing historical facts that are fascinating, unusual, and all completely true. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to PastPixelsAI. The shortest war in history happened in 1896 between Britain and the Sultanate of Zanzibar. It lasted just 38 minutes. After a disagreement over who would succeed the recently deceased Sultan, British warships fired on the palace. Within minutes, the conflict was over, and over 500 Zanzibari soldiers had either surrendered or fled. It's a sharp reminder that not all wars are drawn out. Some end before lunch. Here's a timeline twist. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the launch of the iPhone in 2007 than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was built around 2560 BC. Cleopatra ruled Egypt in the 1st century BC, over 2,000 years after the pyramid was finished. It's a powerful reminder of just how old ancient Egyptian civilization really is. Napoleon Bonaparte once held a rabbit hunt to entertain his officers. But something went wrong. The organizers had brought in hundreds of tame rabbits for easy hunting. When they were released, instead of running, the rabbits swarmed Napoleon and his men, likely expecting food. The future emperor of Europe had to flee in a carriage from a sea of fluffy confusion. Oxford University, one of the world's most famous centers of learning, began teaching students in 1096. The Aztec civilization, on the other hand, began to form around 1325 with the founding of Tenochtitlan. That means students were already complaining about exams in Oxford, over 200 years before the Aztecs built their capital city. When US President Andrew Jackson died in 1845, his pet parrot was brought to his funeral, but the bird had to be removed because it kept loudly cursing during the ceremony. Apparently, Jackson had taught it a few colorful words. It may sound strange, but Jackson was known for his rough temperament. So perhaps the parrot was just honoring his legacy in its own way. Ancient Romans believed in cleanliness, and that included dental hygiene. They used urine to whiten their teeth because it contains ammonia, a powerful cleaning agent. While that might sound off-putting today, it was considered effective and even fashionable in some circles. In fact, urine was imported from across the empire for this very purpose. The Great Fire of London in 1666 devastated much of the city, destroying over 13,000 buildings. But it had one unintended benefit. It helped bring the Great Plague to an end. The fire wiped out many of the rats and fleas that were spreading the disease, especially in the densely populated areas. Sometimes even disasters can lead to unexpected outcomes. In 1913, several of the 20th century's most significant figures were all living in Vienna, Austria. Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Leon Trotsky, Sigmund Freud, and Josip Broz Tito were all in the same city at roughly the same time. They didn't all know each other, but it's remarkable to think that so many people who would shape world events were walking the same streets. Thanks to the laws of physics, the Eiffel Tower can grow more than 6 inches taller during hot summer days. When metal heats up, it expands slightly, a phenomenon called thermal expansion. So, in a way, the Eiffel Tower is alive, stretching just a little bit closer to the sky when the sun shines brightest. In the 19th century, especially during the Victorian era, it was common to take photographs of loved ones after they passed away. These post-mortem portraits were a way to remember family members, especially in a time when photography was still a luxury. The deceased were often posed to look like they were still alive, seated in chairs or surrounded by family. While it may seem morbid today, it was viewed as a tender way to say goodbye. In 897 AD, Pope Stephen VI held the Cadaver Synod, one of the strangest events in church history. He had the corpse of his predecessor, Pope Formosus, exhumed, dressed in papal robes, and placed on trial in a public courtroom. Why? Because of bitter political rivalries. Formosus had supported a different ruling faction in Rome, and Stephen, backed by the opposition, wanted to erase his influence completely. The corpse was found guilty of perjury and violating canon law, and his papacy was declared invalid. His body was then thrown into the Tiber River. It wasn't just revenge, it was politics taken to a very grim extreme. 1952, Albert Einstein was offered the ceremonial position of President of Israel. He politely declined, saying he lacked the natural aptitude and experience for politics. Imagine a Nobel Prize-winning physicist running a country. Then again, it might have been the most organized administration ever. Despite their rough reputation, Vikings were surprisingly clean. Archaeologists have found grooming tools like tweezers, razors, and ear cleaners in Viking graves. In fact, they bathed more regularly than most Europeans at the time. Turns out, the fiercest warriors were also pretty well groomed. After the 1889 World's Fair, the Eiffel Tower was meant to be temporary and nearly dismantled in 1909. It was saved because it proved useful as a radio transmission tower. What's now the symbol of Paris almost vanished from history. In 1932, Australia declared war on emus. Farmers in Western Australia were overrun by thousands of the flightless birds. The military stepped in with machine guns and lost. The emus outran the soldiers, resisted bullets, and won. It's one of the only wars humans lost to animals. During the Cold War, the US developed a top-secret plan called Project A119 to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon as a show of strength. Thankfully, scientists convinced them it was a bad idea. It's a chilling example of how far competition in the space race almost went. The famous Leaning Tower of Pisa wasn't a rushed job. It took nearly 2 centuries to build. Construction began in 1173, but wars, money issues, and of course, leaning kept delaying progress. Ironically, the tilt, which was a mistake, became its most iconic feature. Most people think the Library of Alexandria burned down in one tragic event, but in reality, it suffered damage multiple times over centuries. Fires during Julius Caesar's campaign, later neglect, and political upheaval all contributed. It wasn't one blaze, it was a slow disappearance of knowledge. In the 1830s, ketchup was marketed as a cure for indigestion. Dr. John Cook Bennett even sold tomato pills made from concentrated ketchup. While it didn't exactly heal anything, it certainly tasted better than most 19th century medicine. It's a common myth, but George Washington's dentures weren't wooden. They were made from a mix of human teeth, animal teeth, ivory, and even metal. They looked uncomfortable, and probably were, but wood was never part of the formula. History is more than dates and battles. It's filled with strange details, unexpected moments, and fascinating people. Which of these facts surprised you most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the past that might just change how you see the present.